I love summoner classes, and Ashes of Creation has a summoner class.
During this month's livestream, we saw a Minotaur summoner who attacked with spirit birds and wolves. I'm thinking this is going to be their direction for the summoner class, and I agree. Why would they design those spell effects and those animations if it wasn't going to be used globally? So I do think those animations that are attached to that summoner, I think that's going to be how summoner works. So you like summon like, how'd you go? Like, Humo Guai Fighty Sal, Humo Guai Fighty Sal. If anyone knows what that reference is, by the way, you'll go. I'm thinking this is.
I remember that reference, but I can't pinpoint from where it was. I can't, but I have seen it.
It's going to be their direction for the summoner class, conjuring up spirit creatures to attack your target. So this isn't the first time that we've seen these spirit creatures. Do you remember Tumok? Tumok also summoned like spirit wolves, didn't he? Do we think the summoner color is going to be this kind of ghostly green? Yeah, it must be, right? Yeah, it must be. They posted this. Okay, some
spectral summoning, essentially. I think that's nice, though. One thing that people miss often about summoning classes is that summoning classes can be so much more than just, I raise a zombie, I raise a skeleton, here, a wolf. No. That's lame, okay? Summoner classes can easily be direct damage classes. Summoning is just another way of saying mage, but replacing those mage effective like cone of cold or cone of fire with something like suddenly a million frogs burrow out of the ground and just leap and explode at something. That can also be easily a summoner class skill. And I think that opens up so much more possibility than just simple summon wolf. Woobity boobity buff wolf. That's kind of boring. But again, the summoner classes have so many capabilities. For example, you can summon eagles to just latch on your target and attack them or something like that. The possibilities are so many and so great and so endless. It's amazing. You can have a situation, for example, you summon a bear behind you and you swipe together and attack with the bear like that. That can be a summoner class skill. There's so many options, and it's amazing.
Style NPCs have an interesting ability that allows them to summon dire spirits to do their dirty work. Would you like to see an ability like this for the summoner archetype? Interesting. So it's not technically, they're not really saying that this is a summoner ability. They're just alluding to that this is some kind of mob ability, right? So it's some kind of like monster ability. I feel like a lot of the game has been designed that way. I feel like the mobs themselves don't actually have class abilities. They have their own special mob abilities. So when have we ever really seen a mob in the game using a class archetype ability? I don't think we ever have we? Can anyone recall a time where a mob has used like an actual like tank spell or a mage spell like the ball lightning? I don't think so. The berserker. You mean like with the whirlwind? But I disagree though, because the Berserker's Whirlwind is completely different, both mechanically and aesthetically, to the Fighter's Whirlwind. And I think they're completely different abilities. So then, do we think this is the Summoner? Maybe not. Maybe this has nothing to do with the Summoner. The thing is, as well, is that recently Steven, he made a Discord post. I don't know if anyone's got that. He said there is a chance that some...
By the way, my favorite thing about this clip is just the balance of skills. Like, look at this. It starts.
We think this is the Summoner?
Cough.
Maybe not. Maybe this.
So he fires a frost bolt.
Has nothing to do with the summoner.
Bam. The frost bolt does some decent damage.
The thing is, as well, is that
and then there's an instant lightning.
Recently,
and now he summons Palpatine's spirit himself from Rey's vagina, and does the almighty lightning levitating god strike. This is not gonna kill this creature. No. It's gonna destroy half of the known galaxy. And then look.
He made a Discord post. I don't know if anyone...
Bam. Barely tickles. Disappointment at its finest.
One's got that. He said there is a chance that Summoner might be there for the launch of Alpha 2. So you think to yourself, is it because they've started working on these abilities here, and these are the same types of abilities it's using the same animation set that they're just gonna put it onto the Summoner too? It looks cool. So look, this is what Steven said. Look, Alpha 2 may even start with Summoner. And why would he say that? Is it because the work that they're doing on their back end is related to what their current like projections are? Okay, so next thing related to the Summoner. What do you guys think about them and the way they just disappear? Obviously, it's not very good, is it? Yeah, what do you think they should do? Do you think they should either just fade away, or somebody brought up a really good idea, and I can't remember where it was. I think it might have been the Reddit. They said...
Oh, yeah, they're gonna have probably a vanishing animation, like a puff of smoke or whatever. If they're spectral creatures, yeah, a fade away or a puff of smoke. I mean, the first obvious thing that they're gonna look into it is actually make the skill function, and then it's gonna be animations.
It's something like, when the summoner dies, the summons themselves begin to die at a rapid pace. So they start losing health, and then when they run out of health, then they fade away. Somebody brought it up, and they alluded to League of Legends, and they said it feels really, really good when your summons in League of Legends persist after your death, but they just die really quickly. And it feels really, really nice. They said that, and I agreed. And you could even spec yourself to be like that, where your summoners persist for a very, very long time. And I think that would be cool. You could be like a suicide bomber type of thing. Although, is that really going to work with the
No.
losing experience and shit? You don't really want to die, do you? Yeah, that's cool, right? I think that's a cool idea, and I think that's something that they should probably look into. Oh yeah, and Steven gave us a bunch of leaks as well. When was this? Was this yesterday after the stream? I can't remember. But he basically said the character creator will likely enter PI testing within the next 1 to 2 months, boys. So what do you guys think about the character creator? Like, what races do you think that we're going to get? Do you think it's just going to be, you know, all
Hot elves of a different kind, hot other types of ladies, and, well, more hot women. That's hopefully what it's gonna be. I'm a simple man. It is what it is.
8 of the races, Renkai included, Nikua, dwarves, do you reckon it'll be included? It's got to be. All of them besides the Tulna. We don't know. We don't know. I'm interested in what your thoughts are. Only human. Oh, don't go there, dude. Don't go there. Only human. Well, you say just to start with, right? But we're here. This is it, man. We've run out of time. If they don't have all of the races implemented now, full functionality, then it's not going to be ready by the time Alpha 2 launches. Or at least that's my logic. We've seen them play Vec, Pyre, Kalar, Empyrean, and that's it. These are the 4 races we've seen in-game. Alpha 2 doesn't need all races. I think I disagree. I think Alpha 2 does need all races, because you've got to remember that the races and the nodes play a massive part in the world building, because each node has apparently its own racial aesthetic, right? So you'd think that they would launch with all 8 races and all 8 of the races nodes, because if they don't, then what they're going to do at the launch of Alpha 2, when it's at its peak, they're going to get misinformation related to which races contribute to which nodes, and then what the server determines gets upgraded or whatever. Like, the system might have even changed completely. We don't know. Maybe they will introduce extra races and see how that influences the...
Most people don't even know about the alternative races that there are. It is what it is. Well, obviously, I think most people don't think that this is just gonna be play human, but man, it's really hard following Ashes of Creation, all the small things, goofs and bits and whatnot, all of that good stuff, because, well, there's a lot of it. And those developer updates, while they are good, hey, sometimes sitting through a 2-hour video about them cringing about stuff, yeah, not exactly my type of tea. It is what it is, honestly. But, you know, sometimes it's good. But yeah, there's so many things that actually are... there's so many small and big things about Ashes of Creation that we actually should technically all know, but we don't. Again, how many people that don't follow Ashes of Creation don't even know that there's not going to be just humans? Yeah, exactly.
Well, but the problem with that, say for example, they only launch the game with 4 races. When they do a wipe, if you introduce a race late, then everyone's going to play that race, and it's going to influence the data that's gathered. I think they need to launch the Alpha 2 with all 8 races so they can get an understanding of, like, oh, this is what the general people...
That is kind of decent logic, honestly, but there are expectancies that they will have already. So, making a wipe and then a new race gets released and everyone plays the new race is not actually that big of a deal, honestly. Because keep in mind, not everyone is gonna play the new race. There are gonna be some people who do, but some people are gonna say, look at it and say, yeah, nah, not really my type of thing. I'm gonna skip this one. And the data is gonna be slightly skewed and off, but it should be in reasonable expectations. And, well, if they can't figure that out, then, well, they kind of deserve to fucking fail, in my honest opinion. It is what it is.
People are playing, and this is what they do. They spread out this way, and then, you know, a bunch of Vec go that way, a bunch of Kalar go that way, and then the server's trying to calculate Vec experience with Kalar experience. Whereas if you introduce a wipe, and then you add a new race to that wipe, then everyone's just going to be a Duneer, right? Because they want to try the new race. So this was 2 whole years ago. Well, two whole years ago. This was the quality that they had it at. Obviously, the humans, the Kalar, it was unpolished, but it was functional. And they even had the Vec in this. Even the Vec existed. And they had a randomizer, didn't they? And they clicked randomize. So the Vec and the humans
Vampire trolls. What a time to be a time.
Existed. And this was 2 whole years ago. And this is just the groundwork, right? So this is most of the work done. It was 2 years ago, guys. Everyone's depressed now. I apologize. I'm just not a fan of this idea of launching the Alpha 2 with only 4 races and then introducing a new race later, 1 at a time, 2 at a time, because I feel like that's going to influence the data that they would get. I would rather they just launch the Alpha 2 with all of them, even if they're unfinished. But then again, if a race was unfinished...
If something is unfinished and it launches, people are gonna get pissed and leave the game. That's what typically happens. If you launch something unfinished and people don't know it's unfinished, you get problems. You get a lot of problems from that. Mainly that people get pissed. And that is kind of an issue that you don't want to deal with, because that can spell disaster for your game, honestly.
Wouldn't that influence people's choice to even choose that race in the first place? It's very complicated. Good luck to Intrepid, because holy. What was the best part about the whole clip? I thought it was this part. Here, this was the best part. The fucking tornado. Imagine that in the desert.
Looks good.
Holy, imagine seeing that in the desert, boys. Oh my god. Imagine that spawns in the middle of the desert, and this giant monstrosity jumps out the middle of the tornado and lands on the ground, and it goes, roar! And it's got these tentacles, and it's like... What do you think? That's cool, isn't it? Right? And another addition to the desert. Just a giant sandstorm, and then a giant... Like, this would be like an event.
By the way, I didn't kind of like it. Obviously, work in progress, but... yeah, you have something like this going on here. The surroundings are gonna also be noticeably different. Not calm as this. There would be noticeable sand activity everywhere, because you're pretty close to it.
Tornado. Imagine that in the desert. Holy, imagine seeing that in the desert. And then, the what do you think? That's cool, isn't it? Right? And another addition to the desert. Just a giant sandstorm, and then a giant, like, this would be like an event, right? A weather event, like they showed in the last live stream, where things change, and then, the sandstorm rolls through, and then the middle of the sandstorm is this giant tornado, and then this giant monstrosity comes out the tornado, just jumps out. When players approach the tornado, it jumps out. That would be so cool, wouldn't it? Yeah, and the sandstorm persists until the boss dies. Yeah, so the boss is the he's the eye of the storm, basically. Do these updates inevitably delay Ashes of Creation? Not necessarily, because they don't need to add anything to add these things, right? These are just rendering techniques. These aren't new features. These aren't new things. These are just ways to render things in clever ways. That's what this whole plugin is. I think they've taken inspiration from this plugin to render their water, right? That's why I bring this up, because I think...
Oh yeah, we know that this is true. They use this for water, and it looks pretty decent.
I think it's the same rendering. You've got the volcano.
The volcano looks like a nuke exploding, not just a volcano, by the way.
Are we talking about this? Are we talking about
looks
the nuclear explosion
cool,
or the actual volcano? Like, imagine that. Imagine an event where a comet lands in, like, a giant harbinger, breaks through the veil, the sky cracks open like glass, and a giant vessel comes down, lands on the ground, and then a bunch of ancients come pouring out of it. And then what your job is, as players, is to infiltrate the Harbinger ship and shut it down. And if you don't...
Okay, that's like fever dreams, Narc. That is fever dream territory. Okay, well, anyways, that was dark. Good stuff. The Summoner class, I'm excited. And remember, Ashes of Creation, you have the ability to mix two classes. So we can be a Summoner Warlock, or a Warlock Rogue, or a Rogue Rogue. Oh, so many possibilities. I love the potential. In any case, Ashes of Creation. Does it do good? Does it do bad? It's gonna push the MMORPG genre forward. That is a given at this point. So yeah, anyway, this was Quizzer Sensei, and thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye bye.